Well, well, well. Another episode. It's finally time. Welcome back to Wind Waker Unflooded, the 3D modeling fan art project where I am reimagining the kingdom of Hyrule as it could have existed within the world and art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. I'm so happy to have y'all here. It's always a pleasure. And I'd love to know, I'll go ahead and ask, comment down below, what do you do when watching these videos? Do you put them on while you eat? Are you watching them intently? You know, are your eyes glued to the screen, or are you just listening to the voiceover, right? Or is it the opposite, where you watch the screen but have me muted and have music on over this? I'm just curious. How do you watch the video? Comment down below. Am I a part of your morning routine? Am I the YouTube video that you watch while you eat dinner? Like, what's happening here? Or do you view it as more of a podcast where you just listen, you know, on your way to work? I don't know, in the car, whatever it is. I'm just curious. What do you do while watching Wind Waker Unflooded? Comment down below. I'm just interested, because I know what I do while recording and editing and making the time lapses that appear in the videos, right? I know what that process is, but I'm just curious about y'all. So I don't know. Comment down below. Comment down below. But anyway, Wind Waker Unflooded. I know a lot of y'all have been commenting too, because I guess like we've done so many landmarks, so many major locations from the series that already exist in the map. So many key points of Hyrule, and there's other things too that like could be added that aren't in there yet. That maybe will be in the map or maybe not. There's a couple other things like that, but like in the broad strokes, most of the important locations of the map are already in there. And I know a lot of y'all been commenting like, oh, well, just, you know, I'm still interested in seeing you fill in the gaps. That'll still be interesting. And I have good news for you. This is one of those videos where it's not really a major landmark. It's just working on the terrain around a location and filling in the gaps. And I'm excited because it just, that always is a big step in just making the world feel more done, of course. And I'm excited just to keep showing off that kind of progress, because I definitely think that it leads to interesting stuff. And I think it's an interesting part of the map that I'm working on today. We're working really on, I would call it the border between the Gerudo Desert and the grasslands of Hyrule, which is, I think, an important part of the map to get right. And I really want to continue to imply through the geography of the world, through the topology, through the geometry itself. I really want to show how, I guess, extreme and intense the exile of the Gerudo is into the desert, right? And that like it is something that really is cut off from the rest of the world, right? And there are these canyons and cliffs in the way separating Hyrule. And I think that's always been an important part of the Gerudo Desert's geography in the series as established through the other games, right? Is that they are really geographically isolated and cut off, right? Usually cut off via mountains and cliffs and valleys, right? Separating them and the rest of Hyrule, right? And sometimes that's a major obstacle. Sometimes it's just a little obstacle. And something like A Link to the Past or Echoes of Wisdom, yeah, there's a big desert to traverse that may be dangerous, but really it's like, you know, getting into the desert is not this huge ordeal, but it is still separated from the rest of the world. However, really starting with Ocarina of Time, there's now this impassable chasm separating the Gerudo Desert and the rest of the world, and the only way to traverse that chasm is to jump over it on horseback, right? And so it's this, it is like an impenetrable barrier. That's something that is even more extreme in Twilight Princess, right? Where the only way to get into the Gerudo Desert is by being shot out of a cannon. There's no way on foot, which is kind of crazy. That's crazy that it's that extreme of geographic isolation. And of course, in Breath of the Wild, there's these steep cliffs separating the Gerudo Desert from the rest of the world. And it's probably the game's biggest climbing obstacle, right? A big part of that game is exploring and managing stamina, and probably the biggest test of your stamina is the cliffs of the Gerudo Desert, because they are that tall, that extreme, that steep. And so that's something that I've really tried to take notes from all of the games and the different ways in which they separate the desert from the rest of the world, and that's just something that I've tried to be attentive to. But I also think it's interesting that you have these kind of different biomes coming together. So at this point of the map, we have the desert and its canyons, and we also have the grasslands of the north with some different colored grasses and some different rock styles. I think that's really interesting that like the Cliff Plateau Isles have their own style of rock, as does like the Mother Child Isles. And so I think that's been interesting to kind of figure out and show that like there's a unique geology throughout the map of Hyrule, right? And I know a lot of the map I've been using kind of some of the same assets for the grasslands, pulling from like the Windfall Island textures and the Outset Island textures, and making a lot of the map using those assets. But it's been cool to show, like, well, here's how like both the Cliff Plateau Isles, and it has its own kind of set of textures and colors and rock styles. And now with the Mother and Child Isles, like extrapolating from that island and showing some of the terrain, I'm excited to keep working on that. And I've kind of hardly started at this point, but like there's a lot more to come, and I'm really excited to keep fleshing that out and that area, because I think it's one of the more striking parts of the original Wind Waker's design, right, as far as the overworld goes. And because you're seeing these kind of green grassy islands, and then you go to the Mother and Child Isles and you go inside, and there's this kind of orangish grass and this bluish rock, and it's something that you kind of don't see anywhere else, and has a really striking look. And a part of that also comes from the trees, the way the trees are designed. And so those are really unique, and I'm excited to kind of scatter those throughout the terrain as well. And I think that that'll make a difference. But I'm excited about that. And just everything that adds to the map, I think, is a cool thing. And I'm definitely excited to keep, creating areas with unique terrain, right? Because Hyrule it's big and it's diverse and it's full of all these different little areas that have their own personality. And I'm excited just to keep fleshing that out and developing that. And it's really rewarding creatively, just that there's, and I think that that's something that is attractive about Hyrule as a concept, is that it has so much to offer, right? And I think it does it really well in most of the games, because I don't know, sometimes like, do y'all ever get the feeling looking at like, maybe you play like a Mario game, right? And you look at the overworld and it just feels like a mishmash of biomes, right? And you kind of zoom out and you're like, oh, well, there's the lava area, there's the desert area, right? There's the lake area. And it's like, it feels kind of separated and it feels levelly, right? But with Zelda, to me, it rarely feels that way. Maybe the most that it does, most that it ever does, is maybe something like Skyward Sword, where the regions aren't connected, right? So it does kind of feel like you pop into a new level and, you go to the Faron region or the Elden region, and it is something that feels like just the next level in a video game. But usually I think Hyrule is really unique in that, to me at least, it doesn't feel super video gamey. I can kind of buy into the fact that like I can see it as a world that's interconnected, right? And I think that that's rare. I think that that's rare, and I think that it's special. But to me, it's something that like it has all of these different biomes, but they don't feel levelly. It feels like, well, that's Death Mountain. That's where the Gorons live, right? Like it's special. It's not just the volcano stage. It's Death Mountain. Same with any part of the map, right? It's not just, oh, well, there's the desert region. It's the Gerudo Desert, right? And I think that the integration of culture throughout the Zelda series really helps and allow for that. And that's definitely something I'm really trying hard to be intentional carrying on, right? And being aware of the culture of the different tribes and their own unique architecture, their own unique religion, their own unique monuments and structures, and their approach to how they live in the environment, how they live with each other. And that is something that I'm trying hard to be thinking about, faux show. But I am excited just to like, I don't know, just keep thinking about all of these things, especially in the context of a story, because I've mentioned it before, but my intent is to make animated short films in the style of cutscenes, in the style of Wind Waker's cutscenes, to make these animated shorts, kind of retelling in a way the prologue of the Wind Waker, the showing how Hyrule fell right before the Great Flood. And I want to tell that story. I've already started writing the scripts, and I'm really excited to continue working on them. And feel free to comment down below if you have any ideas of stuff that you might want to see in those stories. But I'm really excited to keep developing them, and I think just showing different parts of different cultures and in just a way that we never got to see, right? Because it is just interesting now that I just keep working on the world, and it continues to make what we see in the game in Wind Waker feel like the tip of the iceberg, right? Where everything else is below the ocean. I guess metaphorically and literally. Just like showing this missing world that we never got to explore. It's been really rewarding to finally kind of be able to keep modeling it and to be able to lower the ocean. And it is a really special thing for me, right? It's something that I've always wanted to see. It's this world that was always implied to be there. And now just just as a creative task, that's all it is. I finally have just, been able to create that world. That is something that's really special and meaningful, and just kind of being able to see more of this world that I connected with. It is a special thing, and I know so many of y'all feel the same way, that it's exciting just to see this world. And I know for a lot of us, it's like it's different than we would have imagined. And I guess I would be curious to hear from y'all, what about my project is different from Hyrule? If you imagined it in your head, and I know different people have drawn up different maps, made different pieces of fan art, and I'm curious just for anyone that imagined the Wind Waker's version of Hyrule right before this project. I'm curious about what is different. I know there's different decisions I've made that not everyone agrees with stuff like the addition of certain Breath of the Wild landmarks, for instance, but I'm curious if there's anything else to y'all that sticks out as being something that that you... I'm not just opening the bag of disagreements. I'm just curious of just like if there's anything that, that just like y'all would have done differently, and I'm curious to know just what those things are. So I'd love to hear that still, right? And I know it's like it may be too late to incorporate like a whole bold new take, so it's not necessarily for the sake of implementation in the project. I'm just curious for the commenters, for those that may watch this and thought to themselves, oh, I would have done this differently. I'm just curious to know what that would have been, what the difference perspective is. Just for the sake of just like all of us have a different experience with these games and with the world of Hyrule and with the Wind Waker, and just everyone saw different things in that world and has a different imagination. And I'm just curious. I'm just curious how it impacts different people, right? Because I know how it impacts me, but I'm curious what y'all think. So I don't know. That's just, I wanted to open up that can of worms, but I don't know. Just I'm trying to get some comments on this video, because one of my favorite things, it's not just for engagement, right? Because like I only get so much out of engagement. I'll be honest, like in the YouTuber sense, because this channel is not monetized, so it's like I have no incentive to get views. But what I love is reading comments and responding to them. That's something that like I really enjoy, is being able to treat this channel like it's a community that I can engage with, right? And being able to see y'all respond to stuff in the video and leave comments. It's like that's something I really enjoy, right? Just using this YouTube channel as a community space. It's like that's what I get out of this YouTube channel, right? Like I don't really and there are different times where like I do think about some of the YouTuber stuff of like, well, okay, if I do this video, maybe it'll get more views. And I do think about that in some ways, but more often than not, I don't really feel worried about that or beholden to the algorithm. I know that there's a lot of people interested in this project, and I know if I continue to update y'all, like, and make stuff that is interesting, and talk about things that are interesting and showcase interesting parts on the map, it's like I know that that's like my goal for these videos. And it is different, right? And I do recognize that like when it comes to building a community and interacting with it and the videos that I make, I recognize that my content is unique compared to other Zelda YouTubers, right? Because it's project focused. There is a sense of like, well, I don't have to be creative through thinking of new kinds of videos to make. I just get to be creative through the modeling of the actual world, right? And through what I make and through what I talk about. And but like it's the creativity is in what I'm modeling right into the world of Hyrule. It's like, well, that's where I get to be creative, and I don't have to worry about that as much from like a video production sense. I'm always aiming for higher quality, but that is, I think there are just, all that to say is just like, I think there are unique challenges with this YouTube channel, but also unique gifts that I'm aware of. And so it's like I can compare myself to other channels, but I also feel aware that like, well, we all have different strengths, and I feel like this channel is very Like I feel like it's in its own position. Right. Which I just think is interesting, and that's just something I feel aware of. And there are other YouTubers that I think you can compare this to for sure. In a way, like I don't know, like I enjoy watching like the Minecraft Breath of the Wild map, right? Like that's kind of similar to my project in a way of just like someone creating video updates, right? That is project focused, and it's a Hyrule project as well. And so I do feel a kindred spirit there, but yeah. Anyway, I'm just yapping. I think it's probably time to start wrapping up the video, but yeah, I've enjoyed continuing to model progress for y'all, and I think that just like there's definitely several landmarks that I want to keep working on. There's several places that are unfinished, and there's some different towns and villages that will be getting new updates soon. For instance, Tingleland needs more updates. But like in general, a lot of the stuff left to model for the map is the in-between space, filling in the terrain, filling in the gaps. And that's the main thing that we have left. And so I'm really excited just to kind of finally be at that point in the project, and where really that's the main thing that's left. But stay tuned, and before too long, my goal is to finish this map before the end of the year. And maybe it's not going to be finalized. Maybe there'll still be more details to add, but like that's kind of my goal, is to like get a like something that looks done by the end of the year, right? And I'm really excited because I think that that's definitely doable, and I think that we're definitely like I think that is definitely possible, and I'm excited just to kind of be at that point. But without further ado, I'm gonna stop yapping for now. I think I'll let y'all go.
Now, if you're looking for other ways to support me, as always, you can support me as a creator by becoming a member on Patreon. There you'll get access to all kinds of exclusive behind-the-scenes content like in-progress outlines, scripts, storyboards, rough cuts, and even soundtracks for my newest films. By becoming a member, you'll also be thanked in the credits for any film I finish during your membership. You can also support me by streaming my music. I compose all of the scores for my own short films, and you can listen to those soundtracks on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to music. Just look up Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Y'all have a wonderful day, and without further ado, I'll let you go.